There are women around you that support you. You're not alone on the journey, and please lean on all these tips and nuggets of wisdom from the leaders that you'll be hearing over the past next 2 days. So it looks as though we have our next speaker in the room, and super excited to welcome Angela Groeneveld. She's of Emerge Agency. So Angela, if you're in the room, welcome to the Success Summit.
Hi, Krista. Is it working? We're good? Everything's good?
You are live, my friend. You are live. I just want to give you a brief introduction, and then you're ready to take the stage and talk about the business pulse check during disaster recovery. I wonder who that applies to right now. Everyone. So Angela combines disaster recovery, coaching, and economic development. As a coach, she sees as opportunities for small businesses to increase their performance and provide strategic direction for businesses facing growth challenges or disaster recovery while challenges continue contributing to growing rural communities and economies. So I want to say it doesn't just extend your specialty. I know that you and I met in 2013. We met in the Alberta floods. And that was really at the very beginning of my journey with Canadian Business Chicks. At the time, I was just starting off, and I said, Angela, this is what I want to achieve. And I had the whole plan laid out there. And, so it's great to have you back in this part of the journey. But Woman of Inspiration 2019, you rushed up to the stage and you said, do you remember me? And I said, yes, I did. I remember coffee. And I almost nailed the date down because it made an impact. I believe that when we connect with people, it's for a reason and a purpose. And I'm so excited to have you back now with a purpose to talk about business recovery. So thank you so much, Angela. The stage is yours.
All right, thank you. Well, you've done a lot of, I've been listening all morning, and I think we have to take a moment and recognize what you're doing for all the business owners and everybody out there. I personally have watched you give and give and give the past, I don't know how many years from the first time I've met you. So I want to take this moment to thank you for all of that, for all of us women entrepreneurs. But when you stepped up and knew that I specialized in this, and I watched you even pivot more to adapt to how to serve your members, or just actually world. What you're doing right now is anybody can share it. I just want to take a moment and thank you, because the number one thing is we are stronger together. And it takes hubs like this to do this, where we all are going to support each other. Every woman that attends today will leave inspired and with some tactic, some tool that they can execute tomorrow because of you, Monica. So thank you. I want to just thank you for that. So I am very passionate about what I do, personal coaching, business coaching, and then I specialize in economic development. But one of the funnest things is, unfortunately, business disaster recovery. You're going to feel my energy, my contagiousness here. It's a bit contagious because I want to inspire you today. I want to get you excited about what you can do with the crisis, with the situation. And we're going to try to pivot away from negative language for the next 15, 20 minutes here because we're in it and there's nothing we can do about it. We got to move forward. I have served over 7 disasters in the last 6 years, all over globally, from an arm's length strategic to boots on the ground, literally boots on the ground in High River, as she speaks about. So there's 3 key points that I want to teach you guys today. And from those, we're just going to dive a little bit in it. And then I've got some closing remarks that I'm hoping will inspire you to just to keep going. So what happens during a disaster is the impact of a disaster will happen. And this is when we're talking about the business pulse check is when you hear this journey that I'm going to share with you, this is proven from FEMA. My training comes from Economic Developers of Alberta Association, who we received the training from International Economic Development Corporation, and it comes from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association. So these topics and tools that I share with you, these are tested over years and years globally. And so the impact of a disaster will happen, like a flood or a fire, and those are for natural disasters. And man-made disasters are basically what we're seeing with Black Matters happening right now. When something like that happens and that disrupts the economy and disrupts the regular way of doing business in a community, that is what we call a man-made disaster. I personally was involved in one also as a cattle rancher. So when the mad cow disease happened and the borders shut down, things like that are called man-made disasters. The reason I'm sharing those two definitions are, I want you to learn from the situation that's happened here is to make sure your business is prepared for if another disaster happens. And it can be, so I want you to write down risks and how you will mitigate them to be prepared if a man-made disaster happens or a natural disaster. Do you have all of your information in place? Your chambers of commerce, your business links, any of your economic development officers all have access. You can contact me as well to share with you tools of how to be prepared for if a disaster happens to your business. But if a man-made disaster happens where your sales that you have and your value chain and everything that's in place right now, if that gets disrupted from politicians or from a crash in the system, or as Monica's been bringing on lately, a lot of the next disaster has been the cybersecurity, those being crashed. So make sure your business is also prepared for that. So disaster happens, the impact of the disaster happens, it's usually in a 72-hour that we call it on a state of an emergency. And after emergency, then safety and lives are in place, are looked after first, and then the business community usually is able to go to their place of business and start to do recovery then. And that recovery, I have been involved in recovery that has lasted 6 years. I've been involved in recovery that has lasted 2 months to a year. It's all different types depending on the disaster. So, but what happens is a false economy happens, which I believe is starting to happen. I want you to get very prepared right now about a false economy for your business, because as phase two, I interviewed an MLA yesterday and I was glued to the TVs with the phase two coming down, because this is my expertise I'm trying to learn is, as things open here on Friday and more, you are going to see a fluctuation in your sales. Please do not be vulnerable and do lots of spending, marketing, buy different products. You need to do your due diligence to make sure that you do not get caught up in the false economy. Do not spend all that money and do not make business decisions thinking that is the new normal of spending in your business. Because what happens is, my next point that I want to teach you is a disaster number 2 happens, and I call it the debt crisis. So as a business coach, I teach when a disaster happens to watch out for those deferred payments. I'm actually very noisy on all levels of government and through all associations of please stop. These business owners, when the business has been mandated to shut down and now they have to go incur a loan, the interest free, does not matter, or the principles matters, because we have to pay it back sooner or later. And we don't know what the new normal is going to be for you. So you are at full risk right now. You're also vulnerable and you're not rational right now. You're a little nervous, and we've had a lot of talk about mental stress. And I want to emphasize that. Serving on two, in 6 years, I've had 2 panic attacks. I'm a very sought after leader in this, and I'm going to be vulnerable to share. And I'm actually taking a mental leave right now from serving on the ground because I can't do it. It affects me. Please believe in PTS, and please believe in how this is affecting you. Explain to your family and your close friends that you're not normal. An employee gets to go home and they get to have a paycheck come every 2 weeks, or they collect DI. A lot of you didn't have those benefits. You are laying in bed at night and you're thinking, how am I going to pay my employees tomorrow? How am I going to keep this doing? What is the new workforce going to look like if I do have to close this? Because you may not be a stable enough business. This is a time to take a look and do that business check on your business right now, which I'll talk a little bit more on. Is not only You mentally handle the workload, but can you sustain the debt? And can you sustain with the restrictions in? Are you even operating at a break-even cost right now with the restrictions that are in place? And you're incurring a whole bunch of costs. And the confidence of the customer. Do they want to come back to your business? Do they want your do they still want your services? We don't know that. There's about a 50-50 split right now in some of the surveys that we're seeing in the communities from wearing my economic development hat is some of them are saying that, no, even though it's open, I'm not shopping. I have my mother at home has asthma, my children are young, or I'm just nervous of it. So even though the government is allowing you to open, check in with your business philosophy, your principles, and your integrity, because maybe it doesn't work for you, and that's okay. Please don't feel the pressure. So I want you to be aware of the false economy that's happening. I want you to be very cautious of your debt that you are creating through this, and be careful when those deferred payments come through, and be careful as the more of those come in. I believe in forgivable loans, or grants are always the best, which I'll be touching on a little bit here. But the next one is customer service. This is, nobody should ever be sitting back in any type of a disaster. When you're sleeping, your competition isn't. I promise you, I have seen it. And that is my goal today, is to let you be that competition that's not sleeping. I want to inspire you, even though your business, if you are in phase 3 or wherever you are in the world that are watching this, this is a time to take an opportunity to reach out to your customers. Go above and beyond. I am president for Business Retention and Expansion International, and we teach that we reach out to the business communities to ask what you need. Why are we not doing that to our customers? Just as an entrepreneur, you reach out to your customers, break them down into their target markets, break them down into their age, and how they shop, where they shop, and their industries, break them down into the products and services they buy to you, and have specific conversations with them, whether you invite them into a Zoom room or whether you send them a survey. But just let them know that, and a nice little tidbit is, I coached one business owner the other day. I want you to write down absolutely everything that you have donated to in the past, how many years you've been operating, 10 years. And I want you to brag about that right now and say how good you felt about being an entrepreneur and giving back, because all of you have sponsored something or donated somewhere. And I want you to pull their heartstrings. This is an opportunity that you remind them, and you're looking forward to stay open because you want to continue with community engagement. And you want to thank your loyal customers for being a patron, or to be a customer of your store that allowed you to have the money. This is the time to gently remind them you need them now. But what can I do for you? As the speaker earlier said, a very sought after entrepreneur, I think her name was Victoria, find the problem and then give it a solution. That is exactly right. Your business, your customers have found new shopping patterns. What happens in a disaster is the new shopping patterns, if it's easy and more affordable, when there's no disposable income, they will go that way. So we want to pull their heartstrings. And in Alberta, this is really big. So especially in rural communities, you want to call back and remind them why they're a customer, and touch base with them and say, what do you need? What was some of your products? What would make you comfortable to come back into my business? What is important to you? Also, don't give up. When the customer is, whether you're a hairdresser or whatever type of business you are, please do an exit interview. In some way, follow back up with them, because they may be nervous and you want, they're testing you and they're feeling. So even if it's a walk-in customer in a restaurant, just have a jar up front and say, could you leave us some notes, score us? How did you feel? Did you feel safe today? Do you wish that I had masks available? Were the masks I offered too much money? Was the hand sanitizer, I don't know, there's lots of different ways to go. But I'm trying to inspire you to not sit back, take advantage of this, build that customer service relationship up. So under customer service, you want to know who they are. You want to know where they shop, their shopping patterns. You want to know how they shop. So are we going back online, or can we not wait to get back out and on the streets? Because I'm driving through a lot of rural communities right now and they're packed. And I'm going to be watching it this weekend because people want out. Now remember though, false economy, it's not going to last long. and then they want easy. So I think we have taught an easy pattern here of everything. I had a lot of fun having stuff dropped off at my doorstep. It was almost like Christmas every day. So any of the products and services that I like, I am going to be asking them for that because I'm a busy career woman and I don't have time to go out. So I kind of like that extra customer service. I'm a bit of a diva, so I'm going to be asking them to be supplying that for me now. So the ones that reach out and say, how can we make this easier for you? They got me. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say this is amazing information. We have just a couple minutes to wrap up, Angela, but I've got to say you have jammed so much information. It's, you know what, I picture this, I visualize this great big long cord and go bang. It's like an elastic band. It's just like bam, it's hitting us hard with all of this really important information. And I want to touch on a couple things. Like I've been writing like crazy, so I've been really trying to tell people, document, bring that notepad like we told you to prepare yourself with a notepad and pen. Write down nuggets of wisdom. Write down these lessons. There's so much information here, Angela. The false economy is really, really important. I also love how you shared about pulling on the heartstrings. You know, like one of the hardest things for women to do right now is to actually step into that spotlight, to say, well, I did this. Own your accomplishments. Own how you've supported other people. Tell people how darn committed you are to succeed and that you want their business. Find out what they want. And I know that I'm so proud that we've actually done that for, you know, since March 11th, I've worked 16, 18, 19, whatever hours a day nonstop because I know how important it is to provide service. And I'm like pivoting all over the place. So if I can inspire someone else to do the same, and you're reconfirming every single point here, I'm just so blessed that you've had the opportunity to share. I'm going to say thank you, Angela. I know we have exciting announcements coming up for those of you. We're going to keep them all in suspense, but we have a great big announcement coming up very soon with Angela and the Universal Women's Network. So stay tuned for that. Angela, thank you for your vulnerability about the panic attacks and the reality of PST. It is real. And if you are in a state where you need help and support, please ask for help, reach out. It's okay. We get it. You're not alone. So thank you, Angela. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm just, wow. One word, wow. You're incredible. Thanks for sharing your nuggets of wisdom. And, you know, I have to say, it's really so timely that all of your years of experience has brought you to this point where we have trusted leaders like yourself that are experts in the industry, that know how to handle, that know the curves, that know how to fly in the zone. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you again. And everybody out there, remember, pace yourself. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Take care of yourself, please.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela, for joining us. She is the CEO of Emerge Agency. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So